Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Riddhi Lalan and I'm your mentor for dental material and prosthodontic tutoring. I am a prosthodontist and I have been conducting various webinars and I've authored 2 books, that is Dental Material and Prosthodontic, that you can easily find on Amazon, Flipkart, Dental Card and on our Medi Study Go website. So today we shall be discussing about one of the very important topic that is asked multiple number of times in your examination, which is none other than your balanced occlusion. So now let's just quickly understand what is meant by balanced occlusion. As the name suggests, you need to obtain balance. What is meant by balance? It is nothing but bilateral, simultaneous contact that is actually achieved by anterior and posterior teeth in excursive movements. Why do we actually want simultaneous contacts? Because we know that it acts like a seesaw. If there is pressure that is applied on one side, it might lift from another. And in order to avoid that, what we would want is contacts everywhere. Anterior, posterior, left and right, centric and eccentric. So let's just understand what are the advantages of actually having a balanced occlusion. It is definitely going to ensure that your denture is stable, retentive at the same time. It is actually essential to perform various excursive movements without tipping of your denture. So there is no tipping of denture that would happen in your excursive movement. Apart from that, it actually prevents shifting and torquing as well. So it is going to maintain. It's going to make your denture more stable and also prevents soreness, inflammation and accelerated resorption. So it is not directly linked, but it is due to various other outcomes like having proper force distribution because of balanced occlusion, that all of these will be eliminated. And because of all of these factors, the patient will have comfort and it will lead to higher masticatory efficiency. So this was about the importance. Now there are 5 factors that govern your balanced occlusion: Incisal Guidance, Condylar Guidance, Occlusal Plane, Cusp height and Compensating Curve. This all together is known as your Hanau's Quint. So if you are asked about Hanau's Quint in an examination, you have to write about all of these 5 factors. Let's just discuss each one of them in detail. But before that, I want you to understand one thing. There is a liver balance that actually needs to be present for your balanced occlusion, and it is in relation of tooth to your basal support. At the same time, how can we actually enhance this? By positioning teeth for direct force application, placing teeth close to the ridge, wide denture base coverage, which is also known as your snowshoe effect, and reducing your buccolingual tooth width. Now all of these is related to actually in turn reducing your overall forces that are acting on your residual ridge. What is the uniqueness in complete dentures? What exactly makes complete dentures stand out from other cases? One thing is that balanced occlusion is considered pathologic in natural dentition, but it is very useful in complete dentures. At the same time, balanced occlusion can be achieved with anatomic teeth. So you remember we have been discussing about the posterior tooth form and how we actually discussed semi-anatomic and anatomic teeth can be used to obtain balanced occlusion. And if at all you have to use it for your non-anatomic teeth set, you need one feature which is known as balancing ramps that will help you to achieve your balanced occlusion. If you remember, there was one MCQ or flashcard related to non-anatomic teeth and balancing ramp. If you don't, you should go visit that lecture and you'll be clear with it. So now let's just understand those 5 factors that affect your balanced occlusion. The first thing, that is your incisal guidance. So now what I want you to understand is that your incisal guidance and condylar guidance were on one side of the seesaw, while the other 3 factors were on the other side of the seesaw. So how are they interlinked? We'll see once we have learned all these 5 factors. What is basically your incisal guidance? It is nothing but the influence of mandibular and maxillary anterior teeth on the movement. Now it can either be shallow or it can be steep. As you see, right? This is steep. And how are they arranged? And when I actually tip it more posteriorly, when the maxillary root is taken more palatally, what happens is I get a shallower guidance. Now, how exactly is this going to affect our complete denture? It will actually help in determining the stability. It is detrimental if it is very steep. What happens is the steepness actually means that there is lots of gliding that's going to happen between the palatal surface of maxillary anterior and the labial surface of mandibular anterior. And hence what we actually want is a shallower incisal guidance. So you can establish your incisal guidance during the trying stage. Moving on to the second factor. So it is your condylar guidance. Now condylar guidance is something that we as dentists cannot alter. Can you change the shape of your glenoid fossa? No. Can you change the head of your condyle? No. Those are the anatomical structures and they differ in each and every individual. So it is nothing but the mandibular guidance by condyles transversing through your glenoid fossa. It can either be shallow or steep, and we actually transfer them onto the articulator, and it is different for each patient but a fixed value that cannot be changed by the dentist. As we have discussed, it is expressed always in degrees. So whenever you have shallow condylar guidance, make sure that you have shorter and flatter cusp. But a steep condylar guidance would mean that there is a lot more separation between your posteriors. So if you have to maintain balance, you would have to give a longer anatomic cusp. So this was about your condylar guidance. Then the third factor, orientation of occlusal plane. You have always been told by your teachers and mentors that make sure that you achieve your glass plate relation. Now what exactly is meant by glass plate relation? This is nothing but your occlusal plane that is established by your incisal and occlusal surfaces. Yes, and it is related to your alar tragus line. You use your Fox plane, right? What do you do when you use a Fox plane? You make sure that it comes parallel to your alar tragus line. Correct? And it is anteriorly governed by lower canine height and posteriorly by the height of retromolar pad. So you need to understand that your occlusion will also impact your balanced occlusion and selection of your teeth. Talking about compensating curves. So in upcoming lectures, we are actually going to discuss about the anterior-posterior and mediolateral curves in detail. But just to give you an idea here, you need to understand that this is the curvature that is obtained in artificial teeth alignment for balanced occlusion. It is influenced by your inclination of posterior teeth and their relationship with the occlusal plane. Now there are various curves. Curve of Spee, Monson's curve, anti-Monson's curve and Wilson's curve. What are these? If you wish to know, keep watching and I'll teach you in the next video. Talking about the cuspal inclination. So we know that the angle of the cusp with the cusp plane makes it into three types. Either it is anatomic, semi-anatomic or it's 0 degree. So when we talk about this, when do we use each set? We have discussed in the posterior tooth form. But to give you an idea, anatomic and semi-anatomic will help you to achieve balanced occlusion. Non-anatomic can be used in cases when the ridges are severely resorbed. But if you need to obtain balanced occlusion, you use your balancing ramp. At the same time, guidance proximity is influenced by your cuspal inclination. And it is always preferable to actually eliminate your mesiodistal cusp in height for easier balancing, because it is the cusp that is going to lock it. You don't want locking. You want free gliding movement. So these were the 5 types. So now when I say that my condylar guidance is more and my incisal guidance is more. So if both of these factors are more, I have to make sure that I increase my cusp height. Correct? Because I will have to make sure that I attain balanced occlusion. So all of these factors are actually interlinked. And if I increase my incisal guidance, my condylar guidance can decrease. because of they are on the same side, they will act opposite to each other if I have to balance all of these 5 factors. So this was about your balanced occlusion. Let's just quickly look into the MCQ. A 68-year-old complete denture patient complains that his mandibular denture lifts during chewing on one side. The dentist decides to arrange the teeth to create simultaneous contacts on both sides during protrusive and lateral movements. Which of the following schemes should be planned? So now I know that it is a 68-year-old CD patient, simultaneous contact. So it is nothing but a balanced occlusion. It was easy to answer because we are learning balanced occlusion. But if you get this type of question that is clinical based in your NEET, you actually have to pay attention to the question. Because it says a complete denture patient, at the same time simultaneous contacts, protrusive, lateral, improved stability, all of this is indicating that it is balanced occlusion case. So I hope this was easy for you to understand. Let's just quickly look into the flashcard. Name the factor required to achieve balanced occlusion in complete denture. So I know it is my Hanau's Quint, Incisal Guidance, Condylar Guidance, Cuspal Inclination, Occlusal Plane, and my Compensating Curve. While this 2 will be on one side, these 3 will be on another. And all of these 5 factors will help me to achieve my balanced occlusion. So if you also enjoyed solving this MCQ and flashcard, I want you to go to the app today and solve more MCQ and flashcard, and I'll see you in the next video.